So I want you all to imagine when you come home after a long day of work, it's hot outside, you're covered in sweat and your mouth is dry. All you can think about is a glass of water and a cool shower. You finally reach your apartment, you open a tap and nothing comes out. The city ran out of water. Well, this might sound, for people like us living in Germany, this may sound like the beginning of a dystopian movie, but it's not. This has been a reality on this planet for already a long time. Let us consider Cape Town and day 0. 4 million people were only days short from running completely out of water. Cape Town even chopped down 10,000s of trees to protect the water that was still left in their reservoirs. Day 0, this would have meant that people would have had to line up to get their daily ration of drinking water. So only hospitals would still be on water supply. Thankfully, day 0 could be avoided, but it's still a very scarce resource in South Africa. And the situation doesn't get a lot better when we look to the countries surrounding us in Europe. Every summer we hear about droughts, fires in countries like Spain, Greece, and Italy. And even last year, Catalonia had to declare a drought emergency already in February because they had 3 years with nearly no rain. Yeah, okay, but at least in Germany we do have enough water, right? No. Have you heard about the Tesla factory in Brandenburg? There was a big debate about how much water a company should be able to extract from groundwater resources that are already scarce there. And that's just a very popular example. Probably no one of you ever heard about Launau in eastern Germany, where already in 2020 water had to be delivered by firemen because the water reservoirs were already empty. And due to climate change, even more local springs are going to be dried out. And situations like these will occur more and more frequently. So when I first heard that you should have at least 20 liters of bottled water at home in case of emergency, I was like, yeah, okay, let the conspiracy theorists talk. But yeah, it's actually reality. So a situation where I would have opened the tap and no water would come out would have been pretty surprising for me as well. But why is it like that? Because water consumption is a black box. Since the year 2000, Germany has lost more water than the whole of Lake Constance, in Germany we say Bodensee, contains, which is 48 billion metric tons of water. What exactly does lost mean? It means that the water is lost from the water reservoirs. So, for example, glaciers that are permanently molten, they can't store any more water. Also, due to heavy rainfall, a lot of water gets flushed to the rivers and becomes salt water, so it's not drinkable anymore. And also, the level of groundwater has shrunken significantly. I live in Stuttgart, and since I started my own company to raise awareness towards water consumption, people have constantly been telling me, yeah, we have enough water in Stuttgart. But that's not exactly true. That's why there is a long-distance water supplier that brings water from this exact Lake Constance to us, because the region around Stuttgart has not enough water. And Stuttgart is not the only region where it is like that. More than 20% of the German population relies on long-distance water supply. This means water gets extracted, for example from lakes, treated and pumped for hundreds of kilometers before it finally reaches your house. And this pumping is highly energy intense. Especially in drought periods in the summer, there are demand peaks, which could also lead to potential restrictions. And we cannot extract even more and more water from our ecosystem, because one day there will not be any water left that we can extract. So what else could be the solution? I remember one day in the summer drought of the year 2022, when we actually should have scheduled the World Soccer Cup, but it was held in the desert of Qatar, so it would be life-threatening to do sports during the summer. So they postponed it to the winter. Since I couldn't watch soccer matches then, I was walking through my neighborhood and there was already droughts declared like, please don't water your gardens, don't wash your car, and don't fill your pools. And yeah, the area looked like this photo, but during all of this dead crop and also a lot of brown grass, I found a house like this. So perfectly green grass. Everything else was dead, and then this, like a Fata Morgana in the desert. So I stopped and looked at it and heard the sound of their sprinkler system that sprayed tons and tons of water. And these people, they just didn't care because they want their fancy garden to look green. And the situation stuck with me for a while. I was wondering, why do we never talk about water consumption? Is water consumption really a black box? So I talked about it with a friend and we decided to do a little survey. So we asked people, hey, what do you think? How much water do you use per day? And 80% of the people were highly underestimating their consumption. And 40% underestimated it so drastically that it's impossible to use this less water even if you are super conscious about your water consumption. Most people, they started to calculate like, maybe 1 or 2 liters for cooking, but most of them were like, okay, showering, I have no idea, I don't know if toilet flush, And we got answers starting from 25 liters, but it's actually 129 liters per person per day. So 100 liters that get used without people even being aware of it. And 25 liters, just as a side note, this would be the exact amount of water people would have gotten if day zero really occurred. So it's really not a lot of water. And my co-founders and me, we found ourselves at a place where we actually wanted to help people understand their water consumption, but we couldn't find an easy way to do it, so we wanted to create one ourselves. And other than Steve Jobs, we didn't have a garage where we could start Apple with, so we just started our company from my kitchen. And when we decided, okay, we want to work and we want to prototype a bit, then we just moved to the living room, hung a whiteboard, and called it our office. So one day we stood there in my flat, our office, and thought about, okay, why is water consumption a black box? Because there are smart energy meters, there's also gas monitoring, but water? There is a water meter in every household, so there is information on it, but we just cannot access this information. And I see someone in the audience are like, yeah, but digital water meters, this is going to be a big thing. Yes. But unfortunately, it's not going to help us a lot with this situation. Because first of all, your water supplier installs the water meter. So you cannot decide what type of water meter you want. If they install an analog one, but you want a digital one, you can buy one yourself and install it in a pipe. Or better let someone do it that actually knows how to do it, because else you will have a pool in your basement. Also, how smart are digital water meters really? They show you the consumption in digital numbers instead of analog ones. Yeah. And if you're very lucky, you will not have to manually report your water meter value once a year to your water supplier. But that's basically it. You will not get any more information from this water meter. And yeah, that's a shame, because it could help you a lot to understand your water consumption. But what if it would be possible to just look at your water consumption on your smartphone as we already do it with energy consumption? If you could be able to open this black box and finally understand how you use water, how much you use, and for what you use it. The best thing about this is that not only you would see where you use water maybe a bit careless and where you could save water, but also you will understand if there's something off about your consumption. For example, a water leak. And this is something you don't want to have in your flat. So if a pipe bursts in your basement, of course you will realize that very soon. At least if you're at home. But there are a lot of different varieties of water leaks that you will not detect so easy. This picture is actually from my own flat, and I can tell you the story. The janitor rang at my door and he was like, you have a water damage in your flat. And I was like, there is no water in my flat. And it took a lot of work until they finally found this hole because it was in fact in the floor, as you can see. So I had 3 craftsmen over in total. They looked for this hole until they finally found it. It was just as big as my thumb, so easy to overlook. And it took another 2 more craftsmen to exchange the pipes so that I could use water after that. And they also find another hole while they exchanged the pipes. And yeah, we don't know how the other 3 craftsmen could have overlooked that. Also, all of this only occurred because of the bad ways the pipes were built. But yeah, I couldn't do anything about it. And of course, it has a lot of side effects as well. So the walls in my apartment starting to grow mold from the floor. I had to have drying units for over weeks, and yeah, it took 6 more craftsmen to finally renovate the flat. But I mean, I live in a rented apartment, so no big deal. My landlord had to take care of it, and the insurance company pays, so I only had to live on a construction site for a month. But yeah, no big deal. I mean, if I would have the opportunity to see my water consumption, I would have realized this a lot sooner, and I can tell you, I would have needed this technology 2 years ago. So, the good thing is, if you will decide, okay, I don't care a lot about environment and water saving, but I care about my home, and you look at your water consumption to be informed about water leaks, you will still start to reduce your consumption. There are studies that have shown that only by looking at your consumption, you will reduce your water consumption up to 23%, so that's still a very high potential there. So let us come back to my trigger situation with the perfectly green grass or surrounded by dead crop. When your grandchildren ask you about the summer of 2022, will you show them the picture of your greenhouse surrounded by dead nature? And when we look back to today, where we can use as much water as we want, will we find a situation where we think like, okay, maybe we should have treated water more consciously? So why are we wasting it now? Yes, in Germany at the moment, you don't have to be afraid about your drinking water resources. But in the future, it's a very likely possibility that water consumption will be restricted. And when we think back about this 25 liters that we could only use per day if day 0 had arrived, how are we going to cut off 100 liters of our daily consumption without even knowing how much water we consume today and for what exactly we are using it? But yeah, now we have the technologies to do that. And please always consider that your actions also influence the future of future generations. We are not only doing this for ourselves. And we can open the black box of water now. So I want to say to you, when you get home after these talks, please take a look at your water meter and find out how much water you really consume. Talk about water consumption with your friends and share simple strategies to reduce your water consumption, like water-saving shower heads or the eco-cycle of your washing machine. I mean, these are really no-brainer strategies. You will save water, energy, and money with nearly no effort. And so this enables us all to open the black box of water. Now we do have the technologies to open this black box. It's up to us how we want to use it. Let's value water as the precious resource it already is. If we use the data that's available today, we can preserve our natural resources. Let's start with that today.